Hey guys, John Faulkner here with Survival Dispatch. It's Friday. It's 3 o'clock. That means it's live.
Sure is.
And I got a better looking Chris Weatherman with me today.
2.0.
I got Nikki
Sorry,
behind
Chris.
the cameras. Today, joining me all the way from, do you say Northern Georgia?
Yep.
Northern Georgia.
Yep.
Charley Hogwood. So,
Howdy, y'all.
if you guys don't know Charley, you should. You should. You'll feel smarter right away.
So this is the way the day has gone
We
all
lost-
day.
we-
All day.
All day.
Haven't
all
got a
day.
word, haven't got a sentence done yet.
So, you just finished one. Sheesh. Stop adding commas to the end. So if you guys don't know, Charley has written multiple books. He's also one of the writers in our Survival Dispatch Insider, so you've read his articles if you're a part of the Insider also. Charley is what I would consider very knowledgeable on the subject of community, and that's what we're going to talk about today. So if you guys got questions on how to build a community, how to find people, how to lead people, the roles that should be in a community, anything that's a group-based topic, yeah, we can go there?
If you want to work with more than just yourself.
There you go.
Yes.
So if you're looking for a spouse, read his book.
The matchmaker.
So, a lot of the topics and facts and everything that we're going to be talking about today is coming out of Charley's book, The Survival Group Handbook. We might also talk about your other two books, but for the most part, the Survival Group Handbook is what I think a must-have. First of all, read it, but you must have it if you're talking about, I have a survival resource library. This should be a part of it. Just because at the end of the day, the Lone Ranger is not going to work.
No, the lone wolf thing is.
You're not going to get far.
No, because you got to sleep sometime.
Yeah.
Yep.
And, and the biggest thing when it comes to communities and groups also, I think there's a lot of roles that are overlooked. Everybody thinks if you got an AR, you're going to do security.
Yeah.
And that's it. So you're going to have 15 people doing security all day long into the night. There's no water, there's no food, there's no procurement. There's about 35 different aspects of things that need to get done on a daily basis.
Yes.
And usually the one we talk about is security.
Yeah, absolutely there is. I actually have a Christmas tree shaped thing of all the jobs that are laid out, and it's just huge. And it always begins with security and it ends with security.
Right.
Because if you don't have security, you don't have the freedom of movement and the time to dedicate to all the other stuff because you're too busy looking over your shoulder.
Yeah, but at the same time, all the stuff in the middle has to still get done to be a viable community. So,
yeah, and not just a community, but a family, or you and your neighbors, or and we're not even talking. It doesn't have to be this full-on, grim situation. It might just be the power's out for a week because of tornadoes or hurricanes. Could be anything.
Yeah. So let's start. Nick Meacher's out there. I love you, Nick.
Hey,
and
Nick.
yes, Survival Matchmaker. We're working on it. It's going to be a part of the Insider.
I'm auctioning him off right now, actually.
For a small
It's funny, the bids aren't going anywhere.
Yeah. Oh, they will.
So, all right, we got a question here from Frank. Frank says, I'm not sure how to even start finding a community in my area. What would you say is my first steps to finding others?
Well, the first thing.
And this question gets asked a ton.
That's the question that got this book written.
Yeah.
That was the very first question. How do I find others? Where are they? First question, though, I'm going to pose back to you, Frank, is: are you ready for a group? You may be, but you've got to start asking yourself: Am I able to work well with others? Do I have a defined plan yet? Do I know what I'm preparing for? Am I willing to participate with other people once we get them together? A lot of problems that we have with groups are commitment and participation. They're either not committed or they only participate occasionally, they don't show up. They're not doing that cohesive training that they need, that socializing to learn how each other's mannerisms are. If you are willing to do all of those things that it takes to create what we call the survival marriage, and the survival marriage, you've heard me say this before, is essentially you get together with other people with the intent that you're going to marry them. You are potentially allowing other people into your family, around your children maybe, around your spouse and all that stuff. If you're going to be comfortable with those people, you've got to now work on building a relationship. If you can build a relationship that is going to entice that person to cover your back in a time of need, then you're going to be well underway. If you're not, then you're going to be in trouble. So where would I go look is anywhere that you go to reinforce the skills that you need for any kind of preparedness. So maybe you go to the farmer's market, you look for people that make soap, that maybe they handle bees, maybe people that have surplus gear, maybe they know other people. Maybe you go to your community emergency response team, which is one of the classes that I train. And maybe you go to survival classes, maybe you join Survivor Dispatch, and then you start looking at the people on the screen. Now keep in mind, as with any online dating that we're talking about here, you got to really mind your security when you're online. But start making friends with people. Maybe what we should do is start saying which areas are people in, and maybe kind of giving them an opportunity to say, hey, I'm in Oklahoma, or hey, I'm in Florida, and maybe they can start working together that way. But my recommendation is go wherever you would go to get more training.
Yeah, and I would agree with that. And I promise you, Frank, I promise you there's 10 more people in your area that are wondering the same exact thing.
But they're afraid to talk to each other.
But they're afraid to talk to
Or
anybody.
they don't know where to start.
Right. And, you know, and I mean, I wouldn't say it's the #1 go-to place, but also things like a gun range, you know, that you can go out to, and places like that. Even just going, if there's a place around that you can go hiking, you know, if you're near if there's trails or anything like that, it's a great place to just try to find like-minded people. And that's really what you're trying to look for.
Yeah, so. You don't necessarily want to go pick out the person who always dresses tactically.
Yeah, absolutely.
In public. You're only looking for somebody who looks like they're more self-reliant, somebody that is friendly, and even if they don't do this whatsoever, if you just communicate to them and they have the personality that would endure maybe in a power outage situation that you'd want there to be with you, you can develop those people from there. You're not necessarily going to find somebody who is high-speed tactical ninja and also a nice person to be around all the time. You're looking for somebody. Rare. Yeah, you're so rare that you're not even here right now. You want somebody that you can get along well with. You know, somebody that you don't mind closing your eyes around. I'm not there yet with him.
All right, next question here. Bubba asks, how do you establish leadership in a group? And that's a huge section.
It's a very large section of the book. So establishing leadership, there's two ways to build your group. And I'm going to back up just a quick second because there's two ways to build a group, and there's two most important things within a group that you've got to focus on. The two ways to build a group are, I know I want to start a group, I'm comfortable with starting a group, let me just go start finding other people that are interested in working together, and then we'll figure it out from there, and we'll put a system together. And we'll figure out who's going to make decisions and all that. Yep. The other way is, I know what I'm looking for in a group, let me just go ahead and start drawing up a plan. Let me read the book, or let me start putting things down on paper and say, I want to build around my vision. And the benefit by going the second way rather than the first is it allows you to already move with a vision, present your vision to other people, and that way they don't get to you and then they say, oh, I don't like that. You know, because it's always better to get rid of people early than it is later. The longer they are there and developing, they become invested, and then they really have a problem leaving, and then it becomes some conflict. So then the two more important things that you need to do that is going to build that leadership is decide how you're making decisions and how are you bringing in and vetting new members. If you can do those two things, then you're going to be well underway. Now, the loudest person, the biggest person in the room might not always be the best leader. It might be that you want to build a group, you have the vision and you know what you want, but maybe you're just not much of a people person. Maybe you're not ready to do that. So you find somebody else who's able to communicate a vision to achieve the buy-in. If you don't get buy-in from the people in your group, then you're going to have problems later on down the road because they're not accepting your vision of this. And anytime the group actually comes together to do anything, whether it's in a real disaster or just when they get together socially, which you need to do a lot of, there's going to always be a little bit of a dissension amongst, and they're not going to see eye to eye, and there's going to be that weird kind of like he and I have going on.
saying there's something weird between us?
Oh,
That's
no,
why-
it's more on your side.
Oh, okay.
That's why I sit behind the camera.
That's right. That's why we have
Jeez.
Nikki back there as he throws a yellow flag every once in a while.
Flag on the play.
Yeah, so that's really, when it comes to leadership, you've got to let the leadership come out and be willing to step out of your pride, out of yourself and say, hey, that person's got a great idea. And maybe the leader doesn't need to be the mayor or the sheriff or the president of the group, which I've seen groups have all different types of things. Maybe just that person needs to say, hey, you know what? We're planning a camping trip. Would you take the lead on this? We're planning a canoe trip. Would you take the lead on this? Maybe you could take the lead on helping us with the food storage. And if you spread that workload out and let other people take ownership of it, that's going to develop those people. And leadership is about development. And if they know that you're looking out for them, they're going to accept your leadership vision as well too.
Yeah, I agree. I agree 100%. All right, Harold wants to know, how do you balance recruitment and operational security? Should you lean more towards security or recruitment in that process?
Well, Harold, good question. I think what you find is, yes, there does need to be a balance. That's pretty obvious. So operational security, also known as OPSEC, which is just a military kind of acronym for don't talk too much, loose lips sink ships, don't share our plans. So first, my view on OPSEC is you've worked long and hard to collect your stuff, to build out your survival supplies, your food storage, or whatever it is, and that's like your money in your bank account. You don't need to run out and say, hey, I want you to join my survival group. I've got 10,000 rounds of ammo, 30 guns, and 2 years worth of food. Come on over and check it out.
Yeah.
That'd be a problem, especially
Don't put an ad in Craigslist.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, don't do that. You're going to get all kinds of excitement from there. So minding your OPSEC, there are still ways to do this. So to recruit somebody, which is going to be the number one most important thing you'll ever do in bringing somebody else in, is the vetting process, making sure that they're, you can talk to them, making sure, even if they don't know anything about survival, that's okay. I will take somebody who has ambition and is aggressive and willing to learn over somebody who's a prima donna and just wants to walk in and everybody should stand out of the way. Yeah. So I want somebody like that. I want somebody that I can develop a good, comfortable relationship with. And the way to do that without sharing all of your secrets is go to those places we talked about where you find new people and strike up a conversation. Just say, hey, what'd you think about what happened over in Iran over there the other day? You think the Iranians did it to the Saudi oil facility, or whatever's in the news? Yeah. And if the person comes back, yeah, it was aliens. Okay, well, maybe that's the time to say, well, it's good talking to you. I got to go rearrange my sock drawer. Those things are getting unruly again. And you just back out from the conversation. But just strike up a conversation, and as long as the conversation just feels comfortable, is rolling smoothly, you both seem to feel good about it, because remember, if they know what you're doing, they're doing the same thing to you. Yeah. If they don't know what you're doing, you're just now trying to get a feel for their personality, their body language, and everything that they say and do, and you're just having an open conversation with them. And then once you get more comfortable, you can say, hey, we're the family's going out to the park this weekend, or we're going to go to the range, if you want to tag along. And then you can kind of stealth bring them in. You don't have to say, hey, we're building a group. Because when you come out and frame your discussion like, well, yeah, we're going to go build a group, that kind of freaks people out sometimes. They start thinking, I don't want to join your militia. And you're saying, well, I didn't say I was building a militia. Yeah. Our neighborhood just has a community emergency group, or some sort of community watch group. And that could be another funneling opportunity for you to bring them into the fold. And only after you've known them for quite a while, then you're willing to maybe share a little bit more of what your ideas are. Yeah. But don't scare them off initially with big, outlandish, massive geopolitical, martial law, economic collapse. So that's what I would say. Balance it, bring them in first as friends, and see how it goes.
And just for you guys that are just getting here a little bit late, Charley is the author of Survival Group Handbook. He's also written some other books that you guys can check out. Nikki will post links. And Charley is awesome when it comes to the community aspect of things. And and like he said earlier, his Survival Group Handbook, he went and studied tribes and Amish community. Mm-hmm. I mean, he's former military, so he has military experience in there, and just different walks of life that people have gone through to to bring it all into this book. So make sure you check that out as well. And we got Alan K out there. I love you, Alan.
Hey,
it's like we haven't
Alan has a question for
it's
you,
like we
apparently.
haven't been, it's like we haven't been in the woods for a couple of weeks. So
He misses you.
Alan wants to know, what is your position on waterboarding potential members to make sure they're giving it to you straight?
Ladies and gentlemen, Alan K.
Alan, you're killing me, brother.
Alan, waterboarding is frowned upon.
In John's house, waterboarding is frowned upon.
It's frowned upon. You know?
So, well, okay.
Keith also out there said that John Faulkner is the new Rambo.
Did he?
I have no issue with that at all.
Did he? I don't know.
I have no issue with that at all.
You know, I think that Alan brings up a good question.
Hey, can you put Skittles' question back up there? We'll get to that in just a second.
So I think Alan has a question about interrogations. Maybe how could we use some form of enhanced questioning?
Yes.
To figure out when somebody might or might not be a threat or have information for your group. I think it goes a lot further down the line, but I think you could build that into your overall plan, because when I do consulting,
No, I'm pretty
for
sure
groups,
Alan was just talking about waterboarding.
yeah, I know
people.
what Alan's talking about. I've been there with Alan. But I think when you build out your group, you also need to build out contingency planning, and the contingencies might be detainment operations, because you have to agree how we're going to do this stuff beforehand. The problem is if you had a problem member and it was a really austere condition, you got to figure out how to deal with that person.
Right.
Is that, so there needs to be something in there that establishes your government on how you're going to deal with behavioral issues or people coming in or threats that you might have to detain for a while. So
yeah, absolutely. And Skittles wants to know, let's see here. That's
Prepper dating site?
We're
Yeah,
just
it's like
joking.
preppersonly.com.
Yeah. If farmers can do it, so can we.
That's right. That's how I found you.
His profile pic looks nothing
his
like him,
profile
though.
pic, it oinked. What?
Dang it.
You said
Skittles wants to know, how do you deal with intentional troublemakers in a group? I mean, it kind of goes with
intentional
waterboarding.
troublemakers. Okay, all right. So intentional troublemakers. This goes back to why vetting new members is critical to the group.
Yeah.
Because if you have somebody that comes in that starts to cause trouble, and they start cackling like hens, or maybe spouses of members are not getting along, or you're trying to cause some trouble like that, this is where a leadership group or a council or essentially the leaders of the group will get together and say, look, we got a problem with a problem member, let's decide how to do that. I would not spout off right away. I would not make a scene out of it. What I would do is say, okay, let me go back and think about this for a minute and figure out what are the follow-on effects that this is going to have to the group. Yeah. If I kick this person out, who else is leaving?
Is there a domino effect?
What information are they going to take? Remember, we talked about the survival marriage. In a survival divorce, the spurned lover, the person, if you will, might not just take half your stuff and like they do in the marriage. They might take all your stuff. And you might be the person kicked out and waterboarded. So let's think about the ramification of what's going on here. But I think there might be some counseling that needs to happen with that person. And we also want to look and remember that there's a lot of psychological aspects to a survival group. If you're in a situation where the survival group is together for a long time in a confined space under austere conditions or under really mentally binding conditions, you could start to see acting out or stir craziness going on, and people don't really realize that they've overstepped. So let's first of all figure out if there's something else going on. If they're just being negative and causing a problem, well, then maybe we need to go ahead and eject that person.
Yeah. And we had a question here. Do you have a YouTube channel?
Yeah, Ready Go Prep.
Ready Go Prep.
Ready
How
Go.
often do you put videos on?
Not for a long time.
Okay.
I do.
So,
I spend so much time with you. I don't do any real work. Yeah, and this is pretty much how today has gone.
Charley Hogwood is going to be doing much more work here on Survival Dispatch.
That's what I hear.
So he's going to be here more and more in the upcoming months. So if you guys are wanting more information like this from Charley, extremely knowledgeable on more than just community. You're going to be seeing a lot more of Charley. We shot a lot of videos today and yesterday, so those will be trickling out here. But you'll be seeing a lot more of Charley around here, in the future. So
just lurking around in the hallways.
Lurking in the hallways.
He's here all the time. He's just never working. So Bill wants to know, how would you go about either accepting or turning away women and children from your group in a post-SHTF situation?
Okay, well, let's identify what we're talking about here.
Yeah.
My assumption, based on that question, is post-SHTF is going to be something pretty grim.
Yes.
Something.
It's pretty bad out.
Pretty bad out,
Yeah.
and you're trying to decide, okay, do I let these people come into the group or not? Well, I've actually created a flow chart for this as one of my
That's how cool Charley is.
one of my
There's a
consulting
flow chart for
projects.
that.
It's a pretty complicated one actually, but the idea is somebody knocks on the gate, and we're just using this.
Yep.
We are all together for some reason. Things are bad. Security is up. Somebody comes, knocks on the gate, and say, "Hey, we would like to come in for refuge, or you know, my baby is sick, or whatever that case might be." And if they come in, we have to make a decision as a group. What are we willing to do? The more fortified you are doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to turn people away.
Yeah.
It might mean, you know, your group vision is going to be really important to this. You might say, come on in. What we have here is a charity plan. We have a chart. What skills do you have to offer? Do you have anything to bring to the group? Do you have any supplies? Do you have anything special? If you're a doctor and we don't have a doctor, we might be able to fast track you into the group, and then you'll be on a probationary type of period. If you've got no supplies, no skills whatsoever, and you're just hungry, well, maybe our charity plan is to give you, you know, a to-go bag, and we're going to point you to the church, you know, down the street that we know is taking refugees in. That way, we don't want to start the stray cat syndrome, where tomorrow you come back and get more. You make it very clear, this is how we're going to handle it, and then you move on.
Yeah, and I'll say, this is always that tough situation, because what happens a lot of times, you get a group, I'm going to say Charley and I are the group, and it's like, that's it. Nobody comes into this group.
Nobody.
Because you're not living that situation yet.
Yes, you're not faced
But
in
yet,
that
if you
reality.
were to see a hungry child, both Charley and I have children, I don't think either of us wouldn't break.
Yeah,
And give them something to
you-
eat. Now,
yeah.
I will say, part of your provisions should be, we have some food set aside that you can give them to help them along their way. It's not really accounted into your
It's an
system.
additional. I
It's
usually
an
say like a
additional.
10% addition to your food storage plan.
And it might be something simple, just a simple protein, some rice and some beans, something that's going to give them some calories and a direction of where to go. You know, a bottle of water or something like that, and it's the best of luck if that's what you're considering. And it's a tough situation. It's always easy for us to say what the answer is going to be now because we're not facing it face to face.
But the other side of that is if you were so far down that rabbit hole in that situation, would you allow somebody to come in, see what you've got going on, put their eyes on all your storage and all your security and all that stuff, and say, okay, well, we're just laying over, and now for safety, now we're going to get back out on the road. Is that true, or are they scouting? So if we want to discuss that level of thing, you got to think about that. And you say, well, if you come in, you're staying in. We do need more people. Everybody can play a role. You know, we can put the kids in, you know, doing something in the kitchen. You know, the ladies that come in, maybe they have a skill that could be anything from education to security work, whatever it is, they can move up to a role.
And it could even be a person that bumps, let's just say my wife is taking care of the children, but she has other skills. This lady coming in says, I have very few skills, but I'm great with kids. So it allows my wife to go into the garden and work while the kids are still attended to. You know, so there's things like that you can
So you're interviewing that person. You're going to bring that person in, not let them see what's going on. You're going to put them into an interview space. You're going to ask them some questions. And those questions you should already have. It should be an annex in your survival plan. Right? It's all laid out. Here's the vetting questionnaire. Let's ask you some questions. What are your thoughts on this? You know, do you have any illnesses, injuries, disabilities? You know, what are you strong at? Strengths and weaknesses. And once you get a feel for that person, then you step out and you start to vote on it. And I recommend like 3 people do an interview.
Always an odd number.
Yeah, because that way you can look at it and you can say, okay, you know, what do you think? Well, I think that she's not telling us the whole truth, or I've seen her before. I know who she is. You know, and then you can make a decision from there. But remember, security is always your first job, and it's always your last job, because information security is just as important as physical security.
Yeah, and So yeah, I hope that kind of answers the question. It's a tough one.
It's one of the conflict card type of questions, and that's hypothetical.
So JP has an interesting question here that I can expand upon here. How do you befriend an Amish community? There's a new Amish community growing near me. JP, when I was hiking the Appalachian Trail, I spent 7 days. Off and on, you'll just kind of hit the same mileage as other people. You know, they might just be doing a section hike or something. And for 7 days, pretty much every single night, we ended up at the same campsite. There were 4 Mennonites and 3 Amish.
They were all hiking?
That all hiking together.
So what you experience is people naturally come together as a group.
Naturally.
You didn't intend to.
Right.
You weren't hiking together.
No, just naturally.
But humans are a social creature.
And for like 6 or 7 days, you know, we ended up at the same campsites because there was water there or something like that.
And that's a competition for resources.
Yeah, but the Amish are... They're very nice, you know, for the most part. I can't speak for every single person. They're extremely quiet. They separate themselves very easy. Now, Mennonites, if you guys don't know, it's similar to Amish, but they're a little more lenient. You know, they can have cell phones and, you know, they have rules. But the Mennonites warmed up like night one, like sitting at the fire, like, oh, where are you from? What do you do? Blah, blah. You know, they talk.
Yeah.
Amish would kind of just sit off to the side.
And you're doing a great job of displaying the difference in cultures,
correct,
in group visions,
and that's what I was going to get to. And it's not that they're different beings; they have grown up, usually in a quieter,
closed community, not so much for outsiders, but not against outsiders.
And it was funny because they wouldn't even sit at the fire for the first couple of nights.
Yeah,
sit off by themselves, smoke a cigarette, smoke a pipe. After about the 4th or 5th night, like 2 of them just came and sat there.
Yeah.
Didn't say a single word.
Oh, yeah.
Sat there. And the rest of us were talking. I had about 4 or 5 guys.
Humans are
drawn in.
And campfires are a great social magnet.
And then the very last night, one started talking, and he would not shut up. Like, he just wanted to talk about, what are we eating? What are we cooking? What are we doing? How far have you been on the hike? How long? And it was one of those things where it just took a while to kind of break down,
loosen up, break the ice,
and really, you know, for them to see like, okay, they're just people.
You describe a great learning lesson. So anytime you're putting a group together, you've already got a lot of people that don't know each other, and you know how it is. You walk into a new place and you're kind of to yourself. Yeah. Hopefully, you're not that person that just talks nonstop and it just annoys everybody. So you try to get the lay of the land, figure out what other people are all about. The way to get around that in a group is to do initially some team building exercises. Get people out of their shell. Yep. Include them in something. Ask their opinion on something. Make paper towers like we would do in a CERT team, so they all got to figure out how to do it together without any instruction. Stuff like that will bring people, and that'll speed up that process.
And I would just compare them to an extreme introvert.
Yeah,
that's about all it is, you know. And as soon as they feel comfortable, they usually will warm up.
So how can he then introduce himself to the Amish community? Probably by buying their stuff. It's a good start. Going in and.
Guys, John Faulkner with Survival. Hey guys. Let's see. Heath wants to know, what types of qualities should you look for in a group when you are considering joining?
Well, Heath, that's a great question. You want to join a group of people that think the way you do. If you have an opportunity to interview with a group or to sit in front of a group and consider joining them, are they going to interview you, or are you kind of just going to knock? It's like going to maybe a new church. You know, see who approaches you, see how friendly they are, get the lay of the land. Like we were just talking about around the campfire, just step back a little bit and look and see what's going on. Hopefully that somebody will free up, they will come talk to you, and they'll say, listen, I'm gonna be the one that's gonna sit and talk to you a little bit. I'll tell you a little bit of who we are, what we do, what our vision is. Are we staying locally if there's a disaster? Are we leaving if there's a disaster? Because that's gonna be important to you. If they're all leaving and you need to stay, what is your role gonna be with that group? That doesn't mean you can't be in that group. That just means that now you gotta plan for that. What are your skills and what can you offer them? So you gotta sell yourself a little bit. But if there's a belief that you don't want to experience, you can't just kind of close your eyes to it. Yeah. If there's a very strong religious belief in that group and you're not, or you're of a different religion that's not going to work, maybe that's not the right group for you. So start thinking about it that way. So what I would say is just introduce yourself, participate, show that you have something to offer, listen more, talk less.
Yeah. You have two ears and one mouth.
Yeah, yeah. You'll never learn by talking.
Yeah. No, I agree with that 100%. And, you know, if they all shoot Glocks and you don't, then just don't join them. Don't join them at all.
You're not shooting the Lord's caliber, are you?
If they shoot 40, just don't join them. Don't do it. All right, Harold wants to know, when forming a group, do you have different levels of people you look for first? For example, medical skills first, and then later start looking for somebody that, you know, can weld or, you know, something along those lines.
Unfortunately, it's not like picking a dodgeball team.
Dang it.
And
I'm gonna get picked
you get picked last again?
I'm gonna get picked last again.
So you may not have the luxury of saying, nope, we're not doing anything until I go find a brain surgeon.
Yeah.
Or we're not doing anything until I go find a great welder. First of all, it's pretty tough to find a good welder, I can tell you. So I would start looking for people and then figuring out what skills they have that can help you. So find people you get along with first. Look at your immediate group of your sphere of influence, your immediate friends and family, and anybody who's open to the idea of discussing just being ready for something bad that might happen. And then say, okay, now let's see what strengths you have. Out of that group. And then network from them. Hey, do you know anybody else that's a welder? Yeah. How's that person? And maybe you go meet that person. And then do you know anybody else who's got some medical education? Hey, can we go, are they open to doing, hanging out with us?
I think groups usually start broader, more, he's my this, and this.
Yeah.
And then it starts to break down a little bit more and a little bit more.
Yeah.
You know, and it's also, too, one of those things, talk about a little bit, with regards to somebody that has a specific skill and not crossing their responsibilities. Like, if you have one doctor in your group, he should not be on the front lines of security.
Right.
Because you can't have something happen to that guy.
Everybody in the group, as far as I'm concerned, is security.
Yes.
At the most base level. Because without security, you have nothing. With that being said, you don't deploy your most valuable people to dangerous positions that they're not, specialized in.
Yeah.
So you keep your doctor back, and your doctor will focus on everything that's from sanitation of the group to water, purification, to all the injuries and daily medical checks and blisters and
nutrition and
all of that stuff, making sure everybody stays healthy. So that's what I would say about that. But at the beginning of the day, you're lucky just to get some people to work with. And now don't underestimate. Like you and I start a group, we're like, oh, well, there's only two of us.
Right.
I've actually got a graph, I think it's in the book here. If you look, it says, oh, there's three of us in the group. And you're like, well, that's not enough. But when you account for, well, I've got a family, so we're going to bring several more people. You got a family, that's several more people. Let's see, Nikki comes along, he's got a family. So it now went from 3 of us to 25 people all of a sudden. And with that being said, you got to make sure, is your family all on board with this, or are they just going to drive us crazy the whole time thinking that this is just some beer drinking, gun shooting kind of group? If that's not what you are, you've got to make that clear to your side of the family, like I would for mine.
Yeah.
So.
All right, let's see here. Brian wants to know, what do you recommend people who are stubborn and independent to join your group?
Did they want to join the group, or are we talking about a family member? Because that you're trying to get
that
you're trying to get to join, and that person's just being hard-headed.
Yeah.
So like we just talked about, if you've got somebody who's stubborn and too independent, there's actually something that I found when I started writing this book, that people who are preparedness and self-reliant minded are already more of a leader than, more proactive in things. And the thought of them joining a group and giving up perhaps some of their personal sovereignty becomes a conflict. So I call it the independence conflict. That's exactly what I believe you're talking about. Well, I don't need all that. I'm good to go on my own. Why do I want to join your silly little group?
Right.
Well, or I'm here now. Maybe you just don't tell me what to do, and I'll just be here doing my own thing. Well, that's not helping the group. The idea of a group is teamwork and collaboration and the sharing of innovation. So we need you to open up and participate. The other side of that is the key member problem. If you've got a stubborn member that is just causing nonstop trouble, regardless of the skill that they have, maybe they don't need to be in the group anymore. Because what we need when somebody comes in is to cross-train with what they know to us. I want you to teach me. If you're the doctor, I want you to teach me as much medical stuff as you can. Yeah. If I'm the gardener or whatever it is, I need to teach you, because if something happens to each of us, we've created redundancy and cross-training within our group that mitigates the damage and loss by a key member or somebody that gets ejected or injured and is down for the count.
Yeah.
So either they work together or they may have to go.
I would agree with that.
And earlier is better.
Earlier is always better.
Yep.
Brooke wants to know, what size group is realistic to sustain and maintain?
Okay, another good question, Brooke. So there's a thing called the span of control, and there's also the Robinson number. So the span of control is how many people can one person manage. So in emergency management or military, you'll notice that there's roughly 5 to 7, maybe 5 to 8 individuals who one leader can manage, right? That's a team essentially. So the Robinson number is the number of about 125 to 150. That's the average size of an infantry company, of a division of a corporation, and or of tribal villages. Once they reach that number, it becomes too dense. That's the maximum number of people that you can know personally and have any information about. Remember their name and know a little bit about them. Because once you get beyond that, it gets too big and too unruly. So you may have heard in history, some villages, once they get to about 120 people, they branch off and they send some of their best people over to start a new group. So that's a tough number to answer. It also depends on your mission. What are you trying to accomplish? What is the load that your property can carry for nutrition? How large is the property when you want to secure it? Do you need to go out and do other things and come back in? Do you have a group that all lives together, or that lives half in, half out, which is a hybrid group? Or do you have people that live independently and then they just come together sometimes and do some stuff? So there's different configurations which are all laid out in the book. But the average group, I would say, I've interviewed groups that thought they had 120 people. And after about 20 minutes discussing it, they realized they had 8 core members. So you may just have a core member group. If you can't count somebody as a serious member of your group, they might not really be in your group. They're just kind of loosely affiliated. You think they are, they think they are, but they don't show up and do anything. So I would say they're not.
And let's talk about if we had an area, a compound, whatever you want to call it, how many people do you think it would take? I say it's in the 30-ish range. If we're talking security, 24/7, you know, a lot of people think like, I'm going to have one night shift of security.
Yeah, everything's fine during the day, but at night, then we're going to lock down.
One night shift. Everybody can work during the day and do security at night. You have to sleep at some point.
It depends on your threat environment. It depends on what has happened. Let's use a real world example and say the Bahamas. Right now, the place is flattened. Everybody's stuff is out in the open. They're trying to now deal with all of the physiological needs of survival and hoping that refreshments come in through relief points. But you need somebody that's going to be able to pull security on a 360-degree perimeter, 24 hours a day. That might, and those shifts are not going to be all-day shifts. You can't put somebody out there for 12 hours. They might only be out there for anywhere from 1 hour to 4 hours, depending on what you can get away with. You might have to suck it up. But so you start thinking about on that size. If you had 30 people, let's look and see if you put a third of them on perimeter. That leaves you, what now do you have?
20.
All right, so I got 20 people left. Those 20 people, what are they doing? Somebody needs to be resting because you've got to enforce a rest and rehab plan. If you don't, everybody's going to stay awake for too long and they're all going to be too tired, not going to be effective at all. So you got people that are resting, you got people that are doing the daily duties, you got people on shift. And now you're rotating those duty rosters out. I actually created duty rosters. I've got that in another book that I'm trying to get done called Group to Go. And that's got all of the rosters on there, all the organizational charts and mind maps and everything that goes together with that. I know that I was talking with Alan. Alan might seem to think that there might need a minimum of 22, probably more. Alan's probably still listening. You can chime in if you like. It just depends on the size of the property. If you're in a pup tent, well, you can get by with less people.
Right.
So I would say,
But that's also not enough land to sustain.
it's not going to be a good carrying load
Right.
for survival. So are we on the go, or are we stationary?
Say we're stationary.
So if we're stationary, let's say we're in a house. Are we in a house in a neighborhood? Are we on a farm with 500 acres? Are we riding fence? So it really is situationally dependent. So my recommendation is I would rather have less, run lean, run with better quality people than just throw bodies at it and then try to deal with the personal problems that come along with all those team dynamics issues.
Guys, we're going to take a 15-second break real quick. Check out the Survival Dispatch Insider spot that we have. Charlie and I are going to get a drink of water, and we will be right back. Guys, John Faulkner with Survival Dispatch here today to talk about a brand new product that we've put together. We call it the Survival Dispatch Essentials Guide. The Essentials Guide is for those looking to get into prepping and just kind of unsure of where to start. It's packed with over 225 pages of survival and prepping information on categories such as food, water, shelter, bug out bags, get home bags, you name it, it's in there. We packed it with as much information from 17 different writers as we could possibly fit. All of it is laid out in a beautiful magazine editorial format, so you have great pictures that also show you exactly what you're looking at. We put it together as a starting basis for people to read and build upon. It's packed with tons of information that are there to help people along the journey of becoming a prepared individual. Click the link and get started today. All right, so we are back here, and joining with me is Charlie Hogwood if you are just joining us and talking about community. All right, next question comes from Jeremiah. Do you encourage 1 or 2 comm specialists within your group?
I think that the more people you have trained on every role, the better. So comms specialist, if you just had one person who's sitting in, we'll call it the shack, you know, the ham shack or whatever it is, that person can't effectively monitor that kind of incoming traffic and what's going on 24 hours a day.
Yeah.
So if you've got people that you can rotate out or cross-train or at least get to understand how to monitor traffic and go get somebody, that's a good start. Get somebody though.
Yeah.
And the reason for that is because if you're going to set up a shack, you're going to be tuned in to what the wide area range of information is coming in. Local, international, global, whatever it is as far as information. You need to be able to track that and document that. So,
And I think it's either going to be 2 things. It's either going to be dead,
Yeah.
there's going to be no comm,
Yeah.
or it's going to be so much information overload, you're not going to be able to keep up for a long period of
yeah, I
time.
mean, if you have more than one rig, let's say that
Yeah.
you've got 2 or 3 rigs going on there and they're all chattering, you know, trying to pick out what's important in there might be a problem. So maybe you do need more than one person there.
Yeah.
So again, sometimes we ask these questions and we feel like we're going to have the luxury of just saying, send me 5 comm specialists.
Stat!
Go down to supply and pick me up
Yeah.
a guy with a radio, okay, that knows how to use it. And that's not going to happen. I am more interested in finding people who are willing to learn, willing to participate, and you know, hopefully have some level of skill and cross-train everybody else to fill in.
I would agree with that.
So he also asked about InfoSec, right?
Yeah.
So
Go ahead.
what do you think he's talking about?
I mean,
All right, so Jeremiah, if you'll follow up your question a little bit on InfoSec. InfoSec can be a number of things. It could be, you know, OPSEC. It could be,
that's what I think.
Are you
that's what he's
talking
leaning
out loud
towards.
when you're at the flea market?
Yeah.
You know, when you vet a new member, are you telling them where you live and how much stuff you have? Are you sharing your plans? So, are you using codes on radios? Are you observing brevity in your comms? So InfoSec, information security is very important because you don't need to share everything with everybody. So if he wants to follow up on that, that would be a good thing.
All right. Brady wants to know, what are some strategies on keeping morale up in a group?
Morale can be a challenge.
It can be.
Yeah, but you know what I do is, this is why I say build your group now.
Yeah.
Build your group now, and then you'll find a meeting template. A meeting template, here's what needs to happen at a meeting. It needs to start on time. It needs to have a very clear, this is what we are going to do here. No new business is brought up at the meeting, and a lot of times for different groups. We're gonna go through. We're gonna review what happened last month. We're gonna give you the answers. that we've all come up with. We're going to talk about new business, and we're going to assign some duties. And once you get through all that, we're going to ideally have a training component to the meeting. Somebody that you're going to pick from the group, say, hey, John, would you do a water filter presentation next month? And Nikki, would you break out the ham radios and show us how to set the frequency? And you give everybody an opportunity to own and participate and feel that they are valued to the group, and that's going to help. And then you're going to end that group on time, that meeting, because as a group, you are competing with kids' sports, homework, family commitments, employment.
Social life, everything.
So, and I would like to give them something that they got, make it useful, don't let it get off the rails. Try to have a little bit of a social component at the end of the meeting. Maybe somebody brings some brownies or something like that, gather around, talk over some food and nosh, and that will help improve your ability to communicate, and then send everybody home so that they feel like they got something out of the meeting and they want to come back next time.
And also that increases the buy-in too.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, if they feel like they're engaged, they're going to buy into it.
And if we're talking about like a post-SHTF situation, like how can I increase morale once we've all been together?
Yeah.
And listen, it happens no matter what. Go hiking with somebody for 10 days and you'll be like, my goodness, I'm just going to hike faster just to get away from that guy. I mean, just get in a car for 15 hours with somebody and there'll be some quiet hours, you know?
Sure.
But I mean, there's things like having food provisions that are treats and desserts. And
avoid appetite fatigue.
Avoid appetite fatigues, things like that, you know. Mixing up schedules, you know, and allowing people to learn. I think even just allowing people to learn new things can be a morale boost.
Mental stimulation, some physical exercise. Keep in mind, maybe have some cards for some games. Bring a soccer ball. Bring something that get everybody's blood pumping. Don't crack the whip and hold the nose on the grindstone all the time, because you'll grind the nose right off. And that's going to drive people away. Make it so that people want to continue to stay with you. You put a lot of effort into them, now maintain them. That's the biggest problem in business.
Right.
Getting customers and then keeping customers. And you got to treat your people in your group just like customers. There is a customer service to leadership. If they think that you have their best interest in mind and that they enjoy being there, then that's great. Sometimes they might just need to cry it out or go and break something. That's just how people are. Let that happen.
I have to go cry it out every now and
then. I know you do. I know. That's why I get those phone calls at 2 a.m.
I know. Christine wants to
voicemail.
I'm about to turn both your mics off. Christine wants to know, what methods, i.e. recruitment practices, do you suggest? Field training, outward bound participants, types of meetups, things like that.
Okay. Funneling stuff.
Funneling.
Funneling opportunities. So as far as recruitment practices, like I said earlier, was go anywhere that people have skills that you would find attractive to your group. And then just start having a conversation. If it's outward bound, or if it's a survival dispatch camp out, or if it's a primitive training somewhere that you wanted to go do, or some adventure weekend, or
TCCC course.
Yeah, go to a medical course. Go to the range that we talked about. Anywhere like that. Go to your local emergency management group and join a CERT team, community emergency response teams, and just start making friends. And once you make friends, then you can build it up from there.
Okay, and let's see here. All right, Jeremy wants to know, how many times should your group meet? Let's say on a monthly basis.
On a monthly basis, I would have a minimum of one meeting, but with the caveat that because a lot of times one meeting a month, not a lot gets done.
Right.
Unless you're assigning things and everybody's willing to take on that task.
Take a little homework.
Yeah, by the time you get all the way back around another month, if whatever you assigned didn't get done, now it's 2 months. And then nothing's happening. So I would say at least one regular meeting. Some people will do it every other week, they'll have a meeting. Or you'll do once a month and say, well, we're also going to do it. We're going to do a meeting this month, but we're also going to do a floating training event. So if somebody misses a meeting, at least they can catch up on the training event or the group event, which is at the range, you're going camping or canoeing or something like that. That's going to be fun. They're still with the group. Because if you miss one meeting, it's easier to miss the second meeting. If you miss the second meeting, it's super easy to miss the third, and now you're too embarrassed to go back, and then where are you?
Yeah, and I would also say, you can also throw things in there, like you can have a Skype call.
Sure.
Or, something like that midway through, just as a reminder that we're doing this or that, or you need to practice or prepare or whatever it might be for this or that.
I recommend on that is assigning a mentor to your new members.
Yeah.
A new member comes in, you want to make them feel welcomed and wanted. So you say, hey, John, Nikki's going to be new to our group. Would you mind, making sure he's got everything he needs? Let's go introduce him to everybody. And then, hey, next week, can you give him a call and see if he enjoyed, the meeting and come out with us? And then,
or does he have any questions?
Yeah, does he got any questions? Does he have any needs? Let him know that we're thinking about him and care about him. And hey, would you let him know that we got a camp out coming up? And great, I appreciate that. That'd be wonderful. What? Remember in Office Space? That'd be great.
Yeah, I've got lots of special needs.
And that's why John is your mentor.
Oh, goodness.
Like mine's.
Grandmom D wants to know, should not most people in the group garden? If one person has a major job, should there be more than one skill as needed? So absolutely, cross-training, we've talked about it. Because there are some, let's call them less sexy jobs that will become a requirement.
Somebody has to dig the latrine. And how many people are going to volunteer to do that?
Right.
So that's why duty rosters and leadership are really important, and getting buy-in to the vision. So when people believe the why that they are there, they will be willing to suck up the not so wonderful parts of being there.
And I mean, you take things like gardening. It's one of those things that
it's hard.
It's a hobby.
It's a
hobby.
It's a steep learning curve hobby.
It's a steep learning curve hobby.
Yeah.
Everybody thinks you can just throw seeds in. I mean, you dig a little hole with your fingers, you
pull
put
them
a
out
seed
of
in
the
the
freezer
ground.
and drop them in there, and you're good to go. You're going to be buried in tomatoes.
Yeah, heirloom tomato, just like boom, done.
Poof.
It is a skill that takes a long time to master.
Yeah.
And in the world that we live in right now, it's also treated as a hobby. I'm a hobby gardener. I go out there, great. I get to get some tomatoes or some jalapenos.
Sure.
I'm not living off of that. I'm still supplementing that 70-80% with groceries,
it's
from the farmer's
reminded
market.
of how difficult it is.
That's all it is.
And it's a great idea to have as many people as possible. Food is one of your physiological needs for survival. So yes, if you can get more people that are able and willing to put the garden together and maintain it, I'm all for it.
Yeah, I agree. And
even if they don't know how to do it, they come out and hang out with the others that do, and they can learn that knowledge.
I will say the garden is one place where nobody hardly ever gets to just stand around.
Yeah.
Usually if you stand there for about a minute talking, they're like, hey, you can talk while you
That's right.
while
That's
you pick
right.
vegetables or while you pick weeds or
weeds.
while you
Yeah.
So you usually end up cross-training people that way also. Yep. So all right, Robert wants to know, I live in South Florida. I'm sorry. He's from South. He used to be from South Florida.
I escaped from there. I closed the gate on my way out.
I live down in South Florida and looking to see how I can find people in my area that are members. Yeah, and Robert, we talked about it, a little bit back, 20, 30 minutes ago, and I mean, it's going out and going to places like farmers markets, gun ranges, and go hiking, go hit trails, things like that. Find people that are just interested in what you're interested in.
I would throw out too a little shout out to Preppernet.
Go for it.
Preppernet is a national community that they're building. Forrest and the group it's based on the meetup.com platform. So go on to meetup.com, type in some keywords of survival or prepping and those kind of things, and search within your area. If you're from South Florida, there are a couple of groups. There's also some groups in South Florida that I would run away screaming from. The Region 6 group, I would probably keep on looking if you got there. I don't want to be that way, but I've met a lot of people, and I'm just saying that there's some people down in Palm Beach that are rebuilding a meetup group after I moved away from there. But if you go on to Preppernet, you can join that. There's a map, and you can say, oh, there are other people in my area. Jump up on there, get involved in the conversations, and then you can then work to link up together. And again, I'm going to reinforce, anybody that you meet online, you've got to be very careful who you meet. Just because they think like you does not mean that they have your best interests or safety at heart. Most people are going to be just fine, but I find that a lot of people talk more than they do.
Yeah.
So that's why you really got to vet people before you start sharing your InfoSec, like Jeremiah says, or your OPSEC.
Yeah, and that kind of leads into the next question here. You know, should you get out into the field, go camping, those sorts of things? You know, focused. You know, is that encouraged? I say absolutely.
Yeah.
You know, get out with people because you'll find out. You find out when you're out and about.
Yes.
What people are
like
really
we can get
made
along
of.
swimmingly right here, but
Right.
if we find ourselves in the same canoe, we would probably murder each other.
Yeah. Yeah.
But that's what it's all about. So when you meet new people and you want to build those relationships, you got to get each other out of their comfort zone. When they're too comfortable, they don't share. It's kind of like getting pulled over by the police. They make you wait a little bit because you can tighten up for a little bit, but after about 20 minutes of waiting, your personality is going to start coming out, and they're going to figure out that something else might be going on with you. So go out canoeing, go out hiking, find out if they complain a lot when they're out in the heat, find out if they can't carry their bag, or if they don't care, or they're dragging along some other emotional baggage that they're not getting along at home. You know, that's not necessarily why you're there. You're there to develop those relationships and figure them out.
Absolutely. If I could see Renee's question here.
How do you engage your neighbors Nikki's going to lift the screen up for us.
Let's see. How do you engage your neighbors in preparedness conversation? We just moved into a new house and want to start building a community.
Okay, so the first thing I would say is, does your community have a community Facebook page? Like if you're in a HOA or whatever, your little neighborhood, do you say, okay, Briar Patch,
Right.
Facebook group? You could start going on there and just watching what other people do. I would not start sharing the idea that I'm preparing for whatever you're preparing for, but I would say figure out, make some friends, say, hey, do we have like a community watch group or anything? What's going on around here with the crime? Does the community get together, do a barbecue, or do they do anything by the pool, or things like that? And then just go and make friends and say, hey, I don't know what area you're in, but if you're in tornado country, hey, do you guys prepare for tornadoes at all, or hurricanes, that kind of stuff? And then just start talking to people, and then say, hey, you want to get together and kind of work towards that? Build a community group, watch group, or a community emergency relief group. That's where I would get started.
And I would say conversation starts everything. And you can do things like just go have a conversation. What do you do, Charlie? Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. I'm this or that. And you can start to learn a little bit about what they might be into.
You can figure out if they're mechanically inclined or more admin inclined. Whatever it is.
And and you can start to go about it that way.
Use the acronym FORD. FORD is the conversation thing. That is, you start off your conversation with, let's talk about family. Then after you exhaust that, move on to what is your occupation. And then maybe now you want to move on to what do you do for recreation. And then move on to D, which is dreams. What are your dreams? What are you looking to do? Where are you trying to get to?
Yeah.
If you follow through the FORD acronym, then that gives you just some primers to start conversation.
And there's other things that you can kind of look at. They don't give huge, they can guide you. I mean, you can look at if people put political signs, in their yard, that could lean them one way or another.
Yeah.
You can see, you can take things like bumper stickers.
Oh, you find a lot of information. You can judge people by their cover. And bumper stickers and signs and what they wear and where they work and what do they do and what are they active in.
Right.
And
so there's a lot of things that you can look at in a neighborhood setting to really start to grasp what's going on and observe.
Right.
And I'll go back to what I said before. You also have 2 ears and 1 mouth, so you should listen twice as much as you speak. Mm-hmm. And we're extremely friendly with a lot of the neighbors in my neighborhood, and it'll be funny because you'll find neighbors that I have an elderly lady that lives down my street, and I thought this woman, we had some hurricanes a couple years back, and I thought this woman, she's not going to have anything. Mm-hmm. And she went in there, and all she does is canned food.
Oh, yeah.
Veggies and stuff all day long. So I went there I just want to make sure you don't need it. She's like, oh no. And she, so she was like, just come on in. So I went on into her house. She wanted me to grab something for her way up high. Being 6'5", I was able to get it. And she was like, oh, let me give you some fresh canned tomatoes. And I was like, no, you don't have to. And she's like, no, I insist. So she opens this pantry.
Yeah.
And it was just like lined
Slap full,
with
huh?
mason jars. I mean, full.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, you can? And she's like, oh, I can. I jar. I make my own jellies. I make my.
That's a great
She's like,
person to know.
That's right. And you would have never thought this. So, you know, you always learn things just by being around people.
If she can share those skills, if
Yeah.
you had a group of friends, you don't even have to call it a survival group. Hey, I got some friends that we all get together. Would you come over
we like
and
learning
show
new
us
things.
how to do that?
We like learning new things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And next thing you know, she doesn't even know that she's training a bunch of crazy survivalists.
And also another good platform, like you'd mentioned about Facebook, there's a platform called Nextdoor.
Yeah.
Brian Black turned me onto it.
Yeah.
It's huge how many communities are joined into that.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, and that's a great way to know,
Mm-hmm.
get some messages out there, see
Yep.
what's going on in your neighborhood, see what's going on in your community.
For sure.
Nextdoor.com.
So there you go. And if you guys have any questions, we're about to start wrapping up here. So if you got any last minute questions, feel free to put them up there. Also, make sure you guys check out our Insider Survival Dispatch Insider. You can try a 14-day free trial. And that is just a monthly digital publication that we do on different survival topics. So you can definitely check that out for 14 days for free. Guys like Charley write articles in it every single month. Nikki, what is this month's?
This month's is frequently asked questions.
Oh, this month is frequently asked questions. What a pitch segue there for a live
because
show
you're
where we've done
asking
questions.
that same question all day
So,
today.
but be sure to check it out, and we'll go from there. All right, so where is a good place to find group exercises?
Group exercises. So are you talking about, I guess
What's it? Classes?
classes maybe? There's a lot of different places. I'm not sure where you're located, what state you're in, Jeremiah, but I would just start searching out. Use Google to your advantage. And figure out what it is you're trying to do. If you want looking for anything firearm related, or if you're looking for anything along, camping or community events, check out your local community for events too, because that's going to also help you get together with other people. So if there's a community like holiday event or something you want to get together in, maybe volunteer to help with that, and then you'll meet new people there too, and maybe they'll know something.
So
Your local surplus store even will know.
So we're about to wrap up here, and I want to. Nikki's yelling at me.
Why are you giving my bag away?
All right, this is a giveaway that we are doing. Nikki, did you put the link in there?
I will.
All right, so you can click the link below. This is a 72-hour bag that we put together, an awesome Maxpedition bag loaded with tons of stuff, everything that you need to get started. So if you're in need of a get-home bag, if you're wanting to get one for somebody else, a fantastic price is always free. So enter the giveaway, and this ends in a couple of weeks, so make sure you get your name in there. And that's it.
There we are.
I appreciate you being here today.
I had fun.
So, and you guys will be seeing a lot more of Charley around here. If you guys have any other questions on community, be sure to leave them below. We'll be around the next couple of days to answer those. I appreciate each and every one of you for taking time out of your busy day to join us on this live, and we will see you next week.
Thanks, everyone.
See you later.
John Faulkner here with Chris Weatherman, and today we're going to talk to you about the Survival Dispatch Insider. As you guys know, we put out tons of information on Facebook and Instagram and YouTube. But guys are always asking for more, and the Insider was created just for you. Every single month we select a specific topic, and we do a 70 to 80 page PDF on that one topic. It's laid out in a beautiful magazine editorial layout. And every single article that's in there is focused on one specific topic. It's not a collage of just things here and there.
Yeah.
It's focused on one exact topic. And what we wanted to do with the Survival Dispatch Insider was create a library resource. The Insider is extremely entertaining, fantastic graphics. It
Very
rivals,
high production quality.
yeah, it rivals
highly produced.
any magazine that you'll see
Yes.
on newsstands, but we do it in a way that is more to help you build a reference library. So that's why we chose to do just one topic per month, so that when you came across something like, hey, I want to go look at bug out bags or water filtration or food, you could go straight to that one topic instead of, I knew I saw that
Yeah, which
somewhere.
edition or which episode was this thing in? With the Insider, like John's saying, it's to help you build a library. So this is a PDF. You can save it on your tablet, save it on your phone, save it on your computer, but you can also print that thing off, put it in a binder, put it on the shelf, and now you really are generating a library of resources that you can just fall back to and look up anything you want.
And one of the other cool things that we set out to create with the Survival Dispatch Insider is the fact that we are one of the only websites on the internet that uses a wide variety of writers and contributors to it, as you guys see on our YouTube page and Facebook. So we take people that are really good at certain topics, and that's what they write on. It's not just my perspective or Chris's perspective every single month, and that's it. You know, we find industry experts like Alan Kay, Charley Hogwood, Nick Meacher, Tim McWelsh, all guys that are fantastic in certain different areas of the prepping community, and they are able to give their insight and wisdom the way they want to.
Yeah, they present it in the way that, like he just said, the way they want to present. So it's not just the same old regurgitated stuff. There's a different look, different feel to everything you see and read at the Insider.
Yeah, and also with in addition to the Insider coming out every single month, you also get access to our private Facebook page. So it's a great place for people to get in there, interact with like-minded people, allows a lot of people to open up a little bit more and share what they're working on, what they're building, what they have questions on.
Well, it's giving them access to community. Yeah. Because one of the questions I get a lot is, how do I meet like-minded folks? Like John just said, this is a private Facebook group for like-minded folks because they're doing the same thing you are. They're paying the subscription fee to be involved, and you know they're serious. Yeah. These folks are serious. Now, it's still the internet, but it's a good sounding board. You can get in there and talk with other people that you'll find people in your area, people in your state. You can do get-togethers, you can do whatever, and it's where you can drop questions for us as well. Not to mention commenting on the YouTube videos and stuff like that. But the YouTube stuff's available to everyone. It's the Insider that's printed every month, and the website that goes with it. That's where you really get some high-quality information. That's only available to the Insider.
Yeah, and also in addition to that, there's so many more benefits to it. We do exclusive videos every single month on more topics that are only released within the Insider. We also have Google calendars that remind you of times based on seasonality, location, things like that with regards to what you should be looking at in your preps. Yep. We also have bug out bag blueprints, and we have checklists and more material that are really geared towards helping people really stay focused in their preps.
Yeah, it's a good guideline. It'll get you thinking in the direction of, there's a checklist in there that will let you inventory where you're at on things. And so if you're green on guns and ammo and you realize that you're black on medical supplies, it might be time to stop buying ammo and start looking at some medical supplies. Yeah. And there's tools in there that will help you do that. That's what the Insider's about. It's giving you guys the tools and information you need to prepare smarter and give you the information to learn a little bit more, a little bit faster, you know, because knowledge is key. That's the one piece of kit you can't lose, you know, hopefully.
Hopefully.
If everything goes right.
But, you know, that's really why we put the Insider together. It was for like-minded people to come together as a community, learn, grow, share with one another, and really learn some new ways of doing things.
Yeah, new ways of doing everything. You know, no man, no woman, no single family is an island, you know, and when a real disaster or emergency happens, you're going to need other people. And that's part of what we're doing is building a community. That's a big piece of this. You'll have a place where you can reach out and meet people and start building your own community or your own tribe, call it what you want. But you'll need those resources of the knowledge, the information that's there, and then the access to other like-minded people who think the same way you do and are trying to do the same things you're trying to do.
So guys, here's what we're going to do. We are giving you a free 14-day, no obligations, no commitments guarantee, free 14-day trial of the Insider. You can get in. You can look at every single back issue of the Insider PDFs that we've done. You can see all the videos, all the manuals, everything. Check it out for 14 days. And you know, if you just feel like, oh, it's just not for me, you can cancel at any time. Won't cost you a single thing. Yep. If you like it, it's $9.95 per month to be an Insider and have access to all this stuff on a monthly basis.
Yeah, I mean, that's what, a cup of coffee and a donut. You know, I mean, it's $10. It's not a lot of money. The value is there. Like I said, when you guys try the free trial. Look at the insiders that are in there, those PDFs, and you'll see the production value. I mean, we put a lot of effort in. Well, no, John and his guys, they put a lot of effort into it. I do a little bit of stuff, but they put a lot of effort into it. It's highly produced. It's very polished. It's a great product. It's something. I mean, I help write for this thing, and I still read them every month.
And I will say for all of you Angry American fans out there, as an added bonus, every single month, Chris is writing a new book, and you can tell him about it.
Yeah, so if, as a member of the Insider, you get access to Sarge's story. So it's on there now, and it's around, there's about 40,000 words there, so we're almost halfway to the length of what I call a novel. And it's telling Sarge's story, and there's flashbacks to how him and the three Musketeers met, Mike, Ted, and Doc, how they got together. And it shows what Sarge was doing before Morgan shows up at his house. So, and that posts every month, and the whole thing's there. As a member of the Insider, you get to read it, you get to follow along as it's being written, and who knows what'll happen with it when I'm done. It'll probably get turned into a book, but it's going to get changed a little bit, I think. I'm going to do some other stuff with it to make it even better than what you guys are seeing now.
So guys, if you're interested in checking out the Insider, click the link below, sign up, and we look forward to seeing you guys on the Insider.